It's a why. So, of course, we're talking about the Orlando Magic shooting why Franz Wagner is turning a corner by doing less is more today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 31st. It will be September 1st, 2025. Happy Labor Day, everybody. I don't know if that's something you say happy about, but enjoy your day off if you got your day off. Truly appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Magic. My name is Philip Rossman, right? I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Franz Wagner is starting to hit threes, everybody. We're going to talk about Franz Wagner's three-point approach and why less might be more for Franz, especially this season. Plus, Goga Bitadze showing some three-point love as well. We'll get to his big weekend in EuroBasket and update you where the teams stand in EuroBasket. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter if you listen to us first thing in the morning, right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate all of our Orlando Magic dailies who subscribe and listen every single day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends when stuff happens. Truly appreciate all of you. Be one of our Orlando Magic dailies. Tag and subscribe to all those things now for the season. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It's the obsession. Like, we're not gonna pretend otherwise. We're not gonna pretend that it isn't the most important thing or isn't the thing that everybody's watching and going crazy over and wants to see delivered. We aren't going to pretend that Franz Wagner's shooting does not matter. After two great seasons as a shooter and a very high volume scorer, the last 2 years have been baffling, confusing, stunning, to say the least. And even though you don't need him to be your leading three-point shooter, or you just need him to do enough to be respected from beyond the arc, he's not there. And in this league, you've got to be able to hit shots. Now, again, like I feel like I have to preface this because we do obsess over Franz Wagner's shot. I talk to a lot of people, and it's the number one thing they want to talk to me about when it comes to Franz. Let's make it very, very clear. Franz Wagner is a really good basketball player. He does not need a three-point shot to be an all-star, but we're going to get to a point where, yes, his three-point shooting might matter. Might be the difference between winning and losing a playoff series. And we'll get there when we get there. But at this point, he's still young enough, still has a chance to improve. It's how he gets there. So obviously, we went through those 6 friendly games, and Franz shot 4 for 26. Really, really bad, like sub 20% three-point shooting. And we're dealing with small samples, so we don't want to overreact to anything, but it felt like a continuation of his poor shooting from the beginning, from last year. Now, you could go back, listen to the episodes. We broke it down several times. I would say, well, he's taken a lot of bad threes, a lot of off-the-dribble threes, a lot of step-back threes you don't want him taking, or threes that are just not going to be made at a high percentage to begin with. For Germany and his national team, Franz has to be on the ball a lot. It's him and Schroeder. They're the only two guys that can really take anybody off the dribble. So all of his shots are going to be fairly low percentage. We can't deny that. We can't pretend that context doesn't matter. I would also tell you and argue that, yeah, the hitch in his shot that looked like it was debilitating and really messing up his rhythm toward the end of last season, hitch is gone and not there anymore. Not a problem. So, having said all that, at the end of the day, though, he's still got to make enough. He's still got to make some to keep defenses honest. Through 3 games at EuroBasket, so again, small sample. We don't want to go crazy. 3 games at EuroBasket, Franz Wagner is 3 for 8. He went 2 for 4 in the game on Saturday, in Saturday's game. Again, just a solid win. They beat Lithuania, probably the second best team in their group. You know, Finland's got to make has a good case. We'll see Finland on Wednesday, I believe. Franz Wagner is not an ace shooter, but for the first time, he got a spot up three from the corner that he drained. He got Jonas Valanciunas isolated, saw the defense shading over to prevent the drive, took a step back three and made it. We will take the makes as they come. But here's the thing. What's important about those games, what matters about the shots Franz is getting, is that he's not getting threes. Where in the exhibition schedule, it looked like he was very clearly hunting threes. Like, I think I even noted it. There's a game he took 8 threes. It was just like, oh, like, he's just shooting threes. He's confident. He's doing it without hesitation. That's fine. They're not going in yet, but that's fine. The confidence is back. It's there. Now that the games count, and then I warn people, like, let's wait until we see whether the games count or not. Now that the games count, Franz is not settling for threes. 8 threes in 3 games, that's less than 3 attempts per game. And I want to remind you that last year, Franz Wagner was second on the team in 3-point attempts, or 3-point attempts per game, excuse me. Jalen Suggs took 6.9 per game. We've talked about Jalen Suggs and his 3-point shot. Go back, listen to those archives. Paolo Banchero took 5.9. Franz Wagner took 5.9. And so part of the issue for Franz, part of the deal for Franz Wagner, part of maybe why Franz's percentages were so bad is, yes, he's taking a lot of bad threes, low percentage threes. And he also had to take a lot of them because the Magic just did not have any volume shooters. That's what we talk about. That's what I talk about a lot. You need a guy that's just a constant 3-point shot, the 3-point threat that's going to get up a lot of threes and make a ton of them. Terrence Ross was a 33% 3-point shooter, but everybody was scared of him because he took 5, 6, 7 per game, even coming off the bench. And at his peak, his ability to just go off and make 5 and a quarter, that changed games for the Magic back in the late teens. For this German national team, Franz Wagner does not have to be a volume 3-point shooter. He doesn't have to hunt threes because he has players that can do it for him, and he has players that can space the floor for him. In that game Saturday, Germany made 19 threes. It was the most threes made in a EuroBasket game since 1995. They went and Germany struggled to shoot from 3 in the friendlies. They're now making everything. Andreas Obst had the 4 threes in the third quarter of the opening game. He had a bunch of threes. He had 4 threes again in this game against Lithuania. Daniel Theis made 3 threes. Dennis Schroeder made 2 or 3 threes. Franz Wagner making 2 was part of this. I don't want to take it away. But because there's so many other shooters, Franz doesn't have to make threes as much. And so we talked about this earlier in the summer. Desmond Bane is going to help Paolo Banchero a ton. He's going to help the whole offense a ton because he is a constant 3-point threat. Off the dribble, he'll pull up and make threes. He's an elite pull-up 3-point shooter. Swing him the ball. Like, he's not a heavy spot-up shooter. That wasn't his role as much in Memphis, that he'll make those shots. We talked about this last week as well, I believe, or a few weeks ago at least as well. Put Jalen Suggs back in this lineup, make him a pure spot-up shooter, and now you have 2 guys who are going to average 15 of your 32, 33, 34 threes per game. Franz doesn't have to shoot 5 threes a game anymore. And so how much is that going to affect his percentage? It may or may not, to be perfectly honest. He may still be a low 30s 3-point shooter, and frankly, I would consider that a victory just to move him in the right direction again. But it won't hurt you as much that he's a low 30% 3-point shooter because he's only going to take 4 per game. You go 1 for 4, not the end of the world. Because some nights you're going to go 2 for 4, which is really good. And maybe those nights add up. Maybe there's a night where you go 3 for 4. Maybe there's a night you go 0 for 4. But it's so much different than going 0 for 6, 1 for 7, 2 for 8, whatever it is. It feels a whole lot different because the pressure on those threes is less. And that's what we're seeing from Franz with Team Germany. That's the difference between Franz Wagner, German national team star, and Orlando Magic star from last year. And that's why when we talk about this German national team, There are a lot of things that are similar about Germany's makeup as a team to what the Magic are going to be. And the biggest difference, the biggest key, the biggest thing is that Franz Wagner has to do less shooting. He can be a driver exclusively like he is for his national team. And that, I think, can make him a better three-point shooter. It's what we're seeing. Now, again, small sample. Let's not overreact. Let's not go crazy. But there's a whole lot less pressure on Franz Wagner to make threes because he's going to be taking a whole lot less of them and hopefully able to drive off of the space that the Magic are going to give him. Franz Wagner's shooting is not the only one in the spotlight. The interesting development coming from Georgia, the Republic of Georgia, not that Georgia. We'll talk about Goga Bitadze starting to shoot coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people cannot name all their financial accounts, or frankly, even what they're worth, whether it's their 401k, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. With Monarch, you can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment, allocation, and discover forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Putting all of your financial information in one place, one organized place, helps you make the most of your money. And that's really what we all want. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. Before we get back to discussing the Orlando Magic, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. We just want to make the best show possible for you, and this is our way to do it. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes, and there's also a nice QR code if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks again for helping us out. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Shooting is still the big issue for the Orlando Magic. We all know it. It's not a secret. I'm not breaking any news. There's a reason why we're so shooting obsessed. This is a shooting league. Three-pointers are a big factor in this league, for better or for worse. I'm not going to make any judgments. Shooting matters in the NBA, and we have to be cognizant that the Magic haven't been a decent shooting team. I think they've had 1 year outside the bottom 10 in the league in three-point field goal percentage, at no more than 2. Since Dwight Howard left in 2012. It's a big reason why their offense just hasn't been able to click for nearly a decade and a half now. So we are obsessed with shooting, and we saw it last year. The Magic had the worst three-point field goal percentage in nearly a decade. So the more shooters the Magic are able to bring in, the more confident they are as a shooting team, the more they're able to convert shots. At the end of the day, you got to make the shots. It's not just about creating them. The better shooting the Magic are, the better chance they have to win. The start of the year, the Magic were 27-10 when they shot better than 33% from three. Let's make this clear. The Magic shot 31-point-something% from three for the season. The Wizards were 33.2, 33.3, something like that. Essentially one of every 3 threes. The Magic don't even have to hit that much, and their record dramatically changes. Again, that's 37 out of 82 games. They even hit 33% in half their games. Making threes is a huge factor. And frankly, just even a tiny bit improvement, just being in the pack. We're not even asking the Magic to be the best three-pointing shooting team in the league, just to be in the pack changes everything about this team, knowing how good their defense is and knowing the talent level that they have on the roster. So yes, we are obsessed with Franz Wagner shooting. We want to see Paolo Banchero continue to shoot. The Magic got Desmond Bane. They got Tyus Jones, two established good shooters. Jalen Suggs coming back should give them a three-point shooting boost. Jace Richardson was an excellent shooter in college. Everything the Magic have done has been to add three-point shooting, and the Magic are expecting improvements from Franz, from Paolo, from Wendell Carter, from Jonathan Isaac Copley, from Anthony Black. They're expecting a lot of players to take steps, and it doesn't have to be very much. Again, we're not expecting the Magic to be the best three-point shooting team in the league. They just have to be passable. And so one of the interesting developments that's come from EuroBasket is that the Magic might have another shooter in the mix. Franz Wagner is 3 for 8 on threes in the first 3 games of EuroBasket. Goga Bitadze is also 3 of 8 from 3 in his first 2 games of EuroBasket. He sat out Sunday's loss to Greece. We're going to pretend that didn't happen, although we'll get to it in the standings. Goga Bitadze has hinted throughout really his career, but especially this summer, that he is going to try and add a three-point shot to his game. And this is something the Magic, I've probably asked him to do, but to expand slowly. They weren't going to rely on him to be a three-point shooter, but he had, I don't want to say a green light, but he had some permissions to take threes. He took some more threes last year than he did in previous seasons. He didn't make many of them, but he took some. And now it feels like Bitadze clearly comfortable enough to do it in big games. He had 2 humongous threes in the upset win over Spain on Thursday. Huge threes, humongous threes. He had 2 threes that helped them get that critical win. And then he had a big sequence in the game on Saturday against Italy, where he blocked a shot at the rim, trailed the play in secondary transition, and then drained a step-in 3. This is not some isolated thing. He is making threes or making these long jumpers because the three-point line in FIBA is closer than the NBA. This has always been something that was part of the promise of Goga Bitadze. Coming into the NBA, Goga Bitadze was kind of billed as this do everything big. Someone you could give the ball to in the high post who'll make a good pass, could potentially step out and hit jumpers, and eventually step out and hit threes. But he didn't develop as quickly as everybody wanted him to. This is not the first time Goga Bitadze's tried to shoot threes. One of the reasons things kind of fell apart for him with the Indiana Pacers is that he didn't make threes when they were relying on him to do so. With the Pacers his last 2 years, so that's after Nate McMillan left and Rick Carlisle came in, he shot 55 for 215 with the Pacers throughout his four seasons with them. Averaged 5.3 three-point attempts per 100 possessions. That's the important stat. In his last 2 seasons, he averaged 6.7 and 5.4 three-point attempts per 100 possessions. Shooting a lot more threes. Again, this isn't like some crazy number. It isn't a huge number. But shooting threes was part of the plan for the Indiana Pacers. And obviously shot 25.6%. He was not good enough at them. And the Pacers kind of abandoned the project. When he came to Orlando 3 seasons ago, the Magic essentially said, don't worry about shooting threes. You're big. You're physical. Go in the paint, scavenge, collect offensive rebounds. In 3 seasons with the Magic, he shot 7 for 54 from 3. That's 13%. It's 149 games. He's got 1 3-point attempt per 100 possessions. Again, he went from 5.3 3-point attempts per 100 possessions with the Indiana Pacers over 4 seasons to just 1 per 100 possessions with the Magic. He took 28 of those 54 3-point attempts, by the way, last season. Didn't make very many of them, though, so don't worry about the percentage. The point is that the Magic, and part of the reason why Bitadze has been successful with the Magic, is that Orlando essentially said, don't worry about doing the stuff you can't do yet. Get in the paint, be a scavenger, collect offensive rebounds, gobble up offensive rebounds, get putbacks, lobs, give us vertical spacing, which is as important as lateral spacing, as 3-point spacing. Goga Bitadze is a vertical spacer. That's a concept I've talked about a lot. He plays above the rim. The Magic don't have a lot of bigs who do that. They want him to do all those things. And look, it's been successful. He had a career season last year. We could talk about the downturn and the struggles that he had late in the game, or late in the season last year, but he had a career season. He is a viable player. He's going to be in the rotation to start the season. He has a market in the trade market because he should not be a third center. He is a rotation center, and someone should pay for him. And the Magic are happy to pay him, but he's a luxury that they probably can't afford much longer. The question then is whether this is a true development, whether this is a real development that we can bank on. And so when we come back from this break, I want to talk a little bit more about whether this is something that they can count on and why it's important for a player like Goga Bitadze or Wendell Carter or Mo Wagner, for that matter, to be able to be a spacing threat. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays, or in this week's case, your Thursdays as well. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So why, we're talking a lot about shooting. It is the theme of today's episode. It's the theme of this entire offseason, it feels like. How important shooting is for the team. Why is this ultimately important? Why is it important for a 7-footer to shoot threes or to be able to space the floor and be a scoring threat? Look, it's just the way the modern game is going. We can debate whether centers should be shooting threes. You should take shots that you're good at shooting. And expanding your skills and adding more skills is never a bad thing. With the way the Magic are constructed, their two best players is a 6'10", 250-pound tank who wants to bulldoze his way to the rim and no one can stop him, and a 6'10" forward who dances around defenders in the paint like he's a guard. Keeping the paint clear is a good idea. The Magic do not need a classic back to the basket big who can't pull someone away from the rim and pull someone away from the paint. There is a going thought around Magic fans, and I think there's some credit to this. I don't think it's completely off base. That there's a going thought that like Goga Bitadze and Paolo Banchero just aren't a good match. That Goga sort of occupies a lot of the same spaces that Paolo occupies. And so playing them together just is a spacing nightmare. That's not to say that Goga shouldn't always pop, even if he's not a threat. But creating that little bit of uncertainty is the goal. Defense is, you want to create a situation where you're taking what the defense gives you. As cliche as that is, that's really true. So much of basketball is reading what the defenses are going to give you. And so much of the NBA now is defense is essentially saying, this is what we're willing to give up. And we'll bet we can't stop everything. So this is the shot we want you to take. The Magic go against a lot of trends. Their defense is not about preventing paint points. A lot of defense is about preventing paint points. Their defense is about, we're going to stop you from shooting threes and trust our backline help to prevent shots at the rim or contest shots at the rim, and then we'll rebound and do all that stuff. And that's where Goga's really good at too, because he's such a good rim protector and a good shot blocker, especially when he's being disciplined. Having versatility is the game. And so, yes, like we talked about Wendell Carter last week. Wendell Carter being able to hit an 18-footer, that elbow jumper, is critical. It matters so much, and that's the shot he has to make. More than his three-point shot, that's the shot he has to make. That's the shot he has to be consistent at. If he pops out to the free throw line extended, he's got to make that, because that forces the defense to cover him. That opens up driving lanes. That opens up rolls. So much of basketball is just a geometry problem. It's trying to twist the defense to give you something that gets you to the basket or gets you an open shot. And so when you're running a pick and roll with Goga Bitadze last year, because he's just not a shooting threat at all, teams are just going to clog the lane and say, okay, try and jump over all of us. And again, like Paolo will bulldoze his way through a wall. Goga will try and jump over a wall. It's not that it's so inefficient that it's not worth doing, but there's obviously more to it. There's obviously more that the team has to do. And so adding just a 15-foot jumper, I'm not even asking for a three. Adding a 15-foot jumper begins to change that geometry because now Paolo gets downhill. He takes two defenders with him, kicks it back out to Bitadze. Bitadze drains that jumper. And now the defense has to think, well, we can't leave him open there anymore. So they leave one guy on Paolo. They rotate another guy somewhere else. Maybe they rotate off Bane. You pass to Bane in the corner. Maybe they switch it. Now Paolo gets a matchup he likes, so Goga can space out the three-point line because he might be a threat there. Or even like they pre-rotate someone over and Goga passes to the next guy and they initiate another pick and roll while the defense is still kind of rotating and figuring out what's going on. This is an important skill for Goga to learn because it makes him that much more valuable. I know there are people, I read your comments, people don't like my Wendell Carter takes. That's fine. That's how I feel about Wendell. You're justified to feel how you want to feel. That's fine. But this is the skill that makes Goga Bitadze more valuable than Wendell Carter. This is part of what he has to develop. And so to see him play like this in EuroBasket in important games, again, this is the thing I want to stress. This isn't like him doing it in some pickup game where defense is maybe half-hearted. Like, nice. It's good. Again, it's like what I say about preseason. In Summer League, it's good to know you can do something, then you can't. But to see him do it in a game that actually matters, and EuroBasket matters, is encouraging to say the least. Let's close today's show with a quick standings update. I do want to get to the standings here and talk a little about where the teams stand. Both Georgia and Germany have played 3 games already. Germany is 3-0 in Group B. Serbia probably still looks like the best team in the tournament, but Germany has clinched their spot in the knockout round. Finland has also clinched their spot in the knockout round. Germany will play Finland on Wednesday. Germany will play Great Britain tomorrow. That should be an easy win. Germany's already in the knockout round. It's just about seeding at this point, whether they'll be the top seed in Group B or second place in Group B. And again, that matters. You want to avoid Serbia until the championship game because Serbia is very, very good. Not much going on with Germany. They're far and away the best team in Group B. And I think they'll beat Finland if they play their guys. So, we'll see. Georgia's in a more interesting spot. Georgia does not control their own destiny. So let's make that very, very clear. Georgia does not control their own destiny. They made a very big tactical error on Sunday. Georgia decided to sit Goga Bitadze, gave him a planned rest day on their back-to-back. Georgia does control their own destiny. I should clarify that. They do control their own destiny, but they are not dormy, let's say. Georgia lost to Italy on Saturday. It was a tough loss, kind of gave the game away in the third quarter. Italy ran past and beat it by 16. That's bad because point differential matters. They sat Goga Bitadze on Sunday against Greece. They also sat Tornike Shengelia, or they played him very limited minutes. And so all of a sudden, Georgia lost by 40. Or lost by 40 to Greece. Greece has not officially clinched a spot Greece has clinched a spot, but the goodwill from Georgia's win over Spain is almost completely gone. As we sit here on Sunday night, and Georgia doesn't play again until Tuesday, but as we sit here on Sunday night, Georgia is 1-2 with a minus 43 point differential. Essentially, if Georgia wants to advance to the next round, they have to win their last 2 games. That would not have been the case if they'd lost a close game to Greece. If they'd lost a close game to Greece, because Bosnia and Herzegovina, they play Greece on Tuesday, they're minus 11. So they got a lot, we'll see whether Georgia's okay or not might depend on how badly Greece beats Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they've already given Giannis his game off, so Giannis is going to play. But Georgia went from this really advantageous position after beating Spain to needing to win their last 2 games. And look, they should have no problem with Cyprus. Cyprus is the host of this tournament. That's the only reason they're there. That shouldn't be a problem. They'll get a lot of that scoring. They should get some of that point differential back against Cyprus. But that game against Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that is the last game of group play. Georgia's next game is against Cyprus. Their last game against Bosnia and Herzegovina on Thursday, that's going to be the ball game. We'll talk a lot more about that game, more specifically about that game, not just kind of generally about what we're seeing. That game is the game. So Germany's advanced. They're just playing for seeding. And again, they play Finland on Wednesday. That is the big game. That is the late game, big game in Finland, in Tampere. It's going to be a wild atmosphere, especially if Finland takes care of their business. But Georgia's got work to do, and Georgia's got to win their last 2 games to advance. So we'll be covering EuroBasket, especially as we get to the knockout rounds. We'll talk more specifically about what's going on in these games and cover them like real games. But for now, the shooting's better. Like that's the best thing I can say about the Magic's guys in this tournament. We didn't talk a lot about Tristan de Silva. He's been really, really a role player. Hasn't really done much. He's filling minutes. Has had some good moments, has looked like a rookie in other moments. So, we'll talk about what that means. I think after a future game, I'll watch him a little closer against Great Britain tomorrow. And we'll see where he's at. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You, of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun I see on the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us as well on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I am starting this week. I am starting a new method with my Patreon page. I'm going to a straight kind of newsletter style. I'm going to send out like an update, an original post every day, every Monday through Friday at noon, with links to what I'm reading around the NBA and what's going on in Orlando Magic Daily. So if you want I'm really going to commit to making it a hub. So if you want your daily dose of Orlando Magic, subscribe to my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make Locked On NBA your second listen of the day, because there's no offseason, as you can clearly tell. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. So find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, I'm not promising an episode tomorrow, but on our next episode of Locked On Magic, we will chat awards. Right, Jamal Mosley is the favorite to win Coach of the Year, and what Paolo Banchero has to do to get into the MVP conversation. Not as far as you think. We'll get to that on our next episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.